Okay. Welcome back to the Learning Lab, everybody. I'm James, and as always, I'm here with the one, the only, the woman who makes me feel like I need to study harder every single day.
Oh, stop it. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny, and I promise I don't actually make him study harder. He just feels guilty because he watches too many cooking videos instead of, learning things.
Okay, first of all, cooking is learning. I learned what caramelization means. That's science. That's chemistry, Jenny.
Groundbreaking.
Anyway, today's episode, I am so excited about this one. Like, genuinely, I've been thinking about this topic for weeks. Today, we're talking about how to speak like a native speaker. And I know, you've probably heard that phrase a million times, but we're going to go deep on this one.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting, and this is something I want to make clear right from the start, is that speaking like a native doesn't just mean having a perfect accent or memorizing 1,000 words. It's actually much more about the way you think and feel when you use a language.
Right. And that blew my mind when I first started really thinking about it. Because I used to think, okay, embarrassing story time, I used to think that if I just learned enough words, I would suddenly sound fluent. Like I genuinely believed that. I had this little notebook and I was writing down words every single day. And I thought, yes, one day I will open my mouth and English would just pour out of me perfectly.
And did it?
It did not. It sounded like a very enthusiastic dictionary. Like I knew the words, but I had no idea how to put them together in a way that felt alive. It felt stiff. It felt like I was reading from a textbook.
And that is such a common experience, and honestly, it's not your fault. It's the way most people are taught languages. You learn grammar rules, you memorize vocabulary lists, you translate sentences in your head, and all of that can actually work against you when you're trying to sound natural.
Wait. It works against you? Explain that, because I feel like a lot of our listeners might be thinking, but isn't that just studying? Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
So here's the thing. When you translate in your head, like you think in your first language and then you translate it into English, you're doing double the work and you're also getting double the delay. There was actually a study, I love this study, where researchers looked at how long it takes people to respond in a conversation, and native speakers respond in about 200 milliseconds. That's really, really fast. But learners who are still translating in their heads, they take 2, 3, even 4 times longer.
Oh, wow. So while a native speaker is already answering, the learner is still like, okay, so in my language, this will be, and then in English, that means, okay, I think the word is.
Exactly. And by that point, the conversation has already moved on. So the goal, and this is the big shift, is to start thinking in English, not about English.
Okay, I love that. Thinking in English versus thinking about English. That's a really clean way to say it. Can we put that on a t-shirt?
Please don't.
Too late. I'm already designing it. But okay, so for someone listening right now who is maybe at a beginner or intermediate level, how do you actually start doing that? Because I feel like people here think in English and they go, great, but how?
Right. So the first thing, and this sounds almost too simple, is to start labeling your world in English. Like when you look at a chair, you don't say the word for it in your language first and then translate. You just say chair. When you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking your morning routine in your language, you try to narrate it in English. I am getting out of bed, the floor is cold, I need coffee immediately.
That last one is very relatable. The coffee is always urgent.
Always. But this practice, this slow, quiet narration of your daily life, it starts to build a habit, and habits are everything when it comes to language. Your brain starts to reach for the English word first instead of going through the translation process.
This reminds me of something that happened to me when I was learning to drive. So bear with me here because this is relevant, I promise. When I first started learning to drive, I had to think about everything, like consciously, step by step. Check mirrors, signal, turn the wheel. Don't hit that trash can.
Did you hit the trash can?
We don't need to talk about that. The point is, after a while, all of those steps became automatic. I didn't have to think about them anymore. My hands just knew what to do. And language is the same way, right? You practice enough and it becomes automatic.
That is actually a perfect analogy, and there's real science behind it. It's called automaticity, basically the idea that when you practice something enough, it moves from the part of your brain that requires a lot of effort to the part that just runs on autopilot. And the goal with language is to get as many things as possible onto autopilot.
Okay, but here's something I want to push on because I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, and I know I did. There's this fear, this deep, uncomfortable fear of making mistakes, and I think that fear is one of the biggest things stopping people from actually speaking, because if you're too scared to open your mouth, you never get the practice that builds the automaticity.
Oh, 100%. And I think the fear of mistakes is actually a really interesting cultural thing too, because in a lot of school systems around the world, making a mistake is treated as something bad. You lose points, you feel embarrassed. So people grow up associating mistakes with failure. But in language learning, mistakes are literally how you improve. They're not the opposite of progress, they are progress.
I read something once. I think it was a quote from some language researcher. I wish I remembered who. But they said something like, every mistake is your brain testing a hypothesis, which I thought was beautiful because it reframes the whole thing. You're not failing, you're experimenting.
I love that framing, and actually native speakers make mistakes all the time too. They say the wrong word, they stumble over a sentence, they correct themselves mid-thought. It's just that nobody notices because they're fluent in everything else. The grammar's right, the rhythm is right, the tone is right, so the little mistake just slides past.
Wait, really? Native speakers make that many mistakes?
All the time. If you actually transcribe a normal conversation between native speakers, like write down every word exactly as it's said, it's full of half-finished sentences, ums and uhs, repeated words, false starts. Real spoken language is messy. The clean, perfect English you read in a textbook is almost nothing like how people actually talk.
Okay, that is weirdly comforting and also slightly alarming because I have spent years trying to speak like a textbook.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the signs that someone is still in learner mode. Their sentences are a little too clean, a little too complete. Native speakers don't always finish their sentences. They trail off, they start a new thought before the old one is done. They use sounds like and right and I mean to fill space while they think.
Oh, this is something I actually practice deliberately, the little filler sounds, because in my language we have different fillers, different ways of filling silence while you think. And in English, I had to learn a whole new set, like, you know, and I mean, and kind of, and sort of. And once I started using those, people told me I sounded so much more natural, like almost immediately.
That's a huge one. Discourse markers and fillers. They signal to the other person that you're still thinking, that you haven't finished, that they shouldn't jump in yet. And they're completely invisible when used right. Nobody thinks, oh, that person said, I mean. But when they're missing, the speech can sound robotic, too formal, like a prepared speech instead of a real conversation.
Right? Like, imagine if every time you talk to a friend, they gave you a perfectly structured paragraph with an introduction, 3 main points, and a conclusion. Every time.
I mean, that would be exhausting.
So exhausting. Okay, let's talk about something I think is really important, and that's listening. Because I think a lot of people focus so much on speaking that they forget listening is like half the skill. Actually, is it more than half?
I would argue listening is the foundation of everything. There's a concept in language acquisition research called comprehensible input. It's been around for decades, developed by a linguist named Stephen Krashen, and the basic idea is that you acquire language best when you hear and read things that are just slightly above your current level. Not too easy, not too hard, just a little bit of a stretch.
Oh, okay. So, like, if you're a beginner, you shouldn't be watching like a Harvard lecture on economics and hoping for the best.
Probably not, no. You want to find content where you understand most of it, maybe 80 to 90%, and the rest is new, because that new stuff, in context, is where the real learning happens. Your brain is very good at picking up patterns when it has enough context to work with.
That is so interesting because I think a lot of people, including me, honestly, have this idea that you should always challenge yourself as much as possible, like go hard or go home. But you're saying that's actually not the most effective approach.
It depends on your goal. If your goal is to feel proud of yourself for sitting through something difficult, sure, go for the Harvard lecture. But if your goal is to actually improve quickly, you want to find that sweet spot where things are challenging but not overwhelming. Because when you're overwhelmed, you shut down, your brain goes into survival mode, and you stop absorbing.
I feel that in my soul. I remember trying to watch an American TV show, a drama, very fast talking, lots of slang, and I understood maybe 15% of it, and I just felt so defeated, like maybe I'm just not capable of this.
And that feeling is so common, and it's so unfair to yourself, because the issue wasn't your ability, it was the difficulty level. If you had started with something slower and clearer and worked your way up, that same show would have been easy eventually.
So, for people listening, what kind of content would you recommend as a starting point? Like if someone is at a beginner or intermediate level and they want to really improve their listening.
Honestly, podcasts made for learners are great because the speaking is clear and the vocabulary is controlled. YouTube channels where people explain things step by step, tutorials, cooking videos, travel vlogs, those are good too because there's a lot of visual context that helps you understand. And even children's shows, which I know sounds funny, but they use simple words and clear speech, and they're actually incredibly well made for language learning.
I will fully admit that I watched a lot of animated kids movies when I was learning, and I have zero shame about it. Zero. Those movies are entertaining, the language is clear, and they repeat simple phrases in really natural ways. It's perfect.
See, and that's actually a good segue into something I want to bring up, which is the idea of chunking. So instead of learning a language word by word, native speakers store and use language in chunks, little phrases that go together, like "how's it going" isn't 3 separate words to a native speaker. It's one unit, one thought. They don't construct it each time, they just retrieve it as a whole.
Oh, that's fascinating. So when I was learning individual words and then trying to build sentences from scratch each time, I was doing it the hard way.
The very hard way, because you were doing construction work every time you spoke, whereas native speakers are more like pulling pre-made blocks off a shelf. Nice to meet you, what do you mean? I have no idea, that's a good point. These phrases are stored as whole units and retrieved instantly.
Okay, so the takeaway there, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that learners should focus on learning phrases and expressions, not just individual words.
Exactly. And not just memorizing them, but actually using them, saying them out loud repeatedly until they feel natural in your mouth, until you don't have to think about them anymore.
I want to talk about something that I think is a little uncomfortable, but really important, which is accent. Because I know a lot of people feel embarrassed or self-conscious about their accent, and they think that having an accent means they don't sound like a native speaker. And I want to push back on that a little bit, but I also want to get your take.
So this is something I feel strongly about. Having an accent is not a problem. Every single person who speaks English has an accent, including people born in English-speaking countries. Someone from London sounds different from someone from Texas, sounds different from someone from Sydney. There is no one correct English accent. There's a huge spectrum.
Right? And I think, I'm getting a little fired up about this. I think the idea that you need to sound like American or British to sound like a native speaker is actually outdated and honestly a little bit unfair, because what really matters is clarity. Can the other person understand you? Are you communicating effectively?
And that's the real goal, intelligibility, not imitation. Now, if someone personally wants to work on their accent because it makes them feel more confident or because it genuinely makes them harder to understand, that's a completely valid thing to work on, but it should come from a place of choice, not shame.
I talked to someone once who had been learning English for years, and they had this beautiful, clear, expressive way of speaking. And yes, you could hear where they were from in their voice, but they were so easy to understand and so pleasant to listen to. And honestly, I thought their accent added character. It made them interesting.
And that's so true. Accents are identity, they're history, they're where you come from. You don't have to erase that to be a great English speaker.
Okay, I want to do a quick lightning round before we wrap up. Just some practical tips, things people can do starting today to start sounding more natural. Jenny, you go first.
Okay, number 1, talk to yourself out loud in English. Narrate what you're doing, describe what you see, have imaginary conversations. It sounds a little strange, but it is genuinely one of the most powerful practice tools you have because you can do it anywhere, anytime, with no audience.
I love that one. Mine, and this is something I did constantly, is to shadow. So you find a video or a podcast, you listen to a sentence, and then you repeat it out loud, trying to copy not just the words, but the rhythm, the stress, the speed. You're basically doing an impression of the speaker. And it sounds silly, but it trains your mouth and your ear at the same time.
Shadowing is excellent. Another one? Find a language partner, someone who is learning your language and wants to speak English with you. You help them with your language, they help you with English. It's free, it's social, and it forces you to actually speak instead of just studying.
And there are apps and websites for this now, which is amazing. We live in such a good time for language learning, honestly. The resources available now compared to even 10 years ago, it's incredible.
Last tip from me. Consume English for fun, not just for study. Find a show you genuinely enjoy, a podcast that actually interests you, music you love, because when you're having fun, you're relaxed. And when you're relaxed, you absorb more. Stress is the enemy of language acquisition.
That is such a good one, because the people I know who improved the fastest weren't necessarily the hardest studiers. They were the ones who fell in love with something in the language, a TV show, a musician, a YouTube channel. That love and curiosity pulls you forward faster than any textbook.
It really does, and I think that's a beautiful note to start wrapping up on, actually. Speaking like a native speaker isn't about being perfect. It's about being present in the language, thinking in it, feeling in it, using it to connect with real people about real things.
Yes, and it takes time. It really does take time. But every conversation you have, every podcast you listen to, every phrase you practice in your bathroom mirror at 7 in the morning, it all adds up. It's all progress, even when it doesn't feel like it.
And be kind to yourself along the way. Seriously, the people who succeed at language learning are not the ones with the highest IQ or the best memory. They're the ones who keep going when it feels hard.
That might be the most important thing we've said today, actually. Keep going. You're doing better than you think.
All right, that's our episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with us at the Learning Lab.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with someone who is learning English or any language, really, because everything we talked about today applies across the board. Leave us a comment, leave us a review, and let us know what is one thing from today that you're going to try this week.
We really do read those comments, and we love hearing from you. It means more than you know.
Until next time, keep learning, keep laughing, and keep going. Bye, everyone.
Bye.